the Pro controller is a ton, absolute ton better, way more comfortable than the Xbox One controller. Actually, the Xbox One controller has way more features and is much more ergonomic. What's up guys, Gem here and back again for another video, and we're going to be looking at a nice versus video today because I've been looking at a lot of stuff online and there seems to be a lot of talk about the Switch Pro controller versus the Xbox One controller, both of which I have here. This is amazing, by the way. If you saw my Instagram at Christmas time, you'd have seen that Jess bought me this for Christmas. The really nice kind of dark shadow pink, real nice gradient from black through pink Xbox One controller. And we're going to be taking a look at some of these ergonomics, how they feel, features, etc, etc. And then as ever, it is going to be over to you good people to blast your comments in the section below. Now, got a lot to say, hope you guys can stick around. As ever, we'll do some final conclusions at the end. I'm hoping to get out today to do a possible out and about video, we'll see. That's a little plug, guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that by hitting that subscribe button. Thanks guys, you've been absolutely awesome recently. I always like to give you guys a lot of praise. So guys, we're here to look at these, the differences. Let's go over there, take a look, and then we'll see what we can conclude. Okay guys, dropping us in nicely, you guys can see that both the Pro controller for the Switch and the Xbox One controller are very, very similar in shape, and I think that's why everybody's been drawing comparisons between these two of late. Let's start with the Xbox controller now. Loads of cool kick-ass features with this. Aside from the aesthetics of this particular controller, features-wise, I do think it has a hell of a lot more than what the Pro offers, particularly with the underneath here. You guys can see just on the left-hand side right there, there'll be a close-up, that you've actually got a wired headset port. Massive advantage over the Pro controller, and I've been reading a lot recently, and a lot of people don't actually know that this does not have a wireless headset controller port. It does on the tablet on the Switch itself. You can plug in your headset, your headphones, but it's just a damn shame that this doesn't have that feature. What it does have on the bottom here are the LEDs, which suggest what player you are, and that is the kind of difference literally between these two here. The bottom, the bases, you've got the USB port, headset port, whereas just you've got the nice, I would say nice, kind of basic feature with the lights just on the back. Let me just focus this in. There we go, the lights just on the bottom there. Now, in terms of actual weight, I think the Xbox controller is slightly heavier. It does feel slightly heavier. Pretty similar in terms of their size overall, but there's a little bit more weight on this one, and I don't think overall that makes a massive difference in terms of weight. You definitely don't feel it when you're playing. It's not like your hands get overly tired, but there is a slight bit more weight with this. Why? I'm not entirely sure. It might be down to the rumble feature. The rumble feature is like a micro rumble feature in this. It does feel pretty kind of subtle really compared to what you get out of your Xbox One controller, but nonetheless it's just a mild point to note for people out there that really want to know what the weight feels like. So in terms of actual ergonomics then, for me personally, the Xbox One controller wins it hands down, excuse the pun. It just feels slightly more kind of comfortable to hold around here, and I think that is because it is slightly chunkier. If you guys can see on the top there, it is probably a couple of millimeters chunkier in terms of its shape. It does feel a hell of a lot more comfortable to hold, and I guess when you're playing games you do want that comfort. I think definitely that is a preference. Now if you also look at the shoulder buttons as well, I'm going to keep this angle, you can see the Xbox One controller does have a slight longer back trigger button there. Slightly longer than what you get on the Pro. Doesn't necessarily affect the game, but I think it's interesting to note that again, in terms of ergonomics, this does feel a little bit easier to press. It has a larger bevel as well compared to what you've got on the Pro controller. Now speaking of bevels, if we take a look at the analog sticks on the Xbox One controller, you do actually have, if we just kind of focus right in there, you do actually have a hell of a larger bevel around the analog stick, which again, comfort wise is 10 out of 10 for me. Really enjoy playing games with that. But you know what, the Pro, it does the job. It does have a slight bevel. It isn't as kind of severe as this, but it's still pretty darn comfortable overall. Okay guys, so you can just see in terms of the buttons there's definitely more pronunciation on the Pro compared to the rounder, softer edges of the trigger buttons sorry, not the trigger buttons, the X, Y, A and B buttons on the Xbox One controller. For me, the Pro wins it here. I really like that kind of pronunciation on the buttons. It does make it a hell of a lot easier when playing, and I think it just adds to that comfort as well. So whilst this is a lot more comfortable to hold around these areas of the controller, I think utilising the buttons on the Pro Switch controller is a hell of a lot better, and it's because they're more pronounced. Now, it doesn't look as aesthetic, clearly. I mean, I'm using one of my nicest Xbox One controllers, but I think even with the standard black or the standard white Xbox One controller, I do think it pips it to the post in terms of aesthetics, but that's okay because I think the Pro does have some really nice features in terms of its slightly transparent appearance here and the mild texture difference compared to the main body of the controller itself. So it does have some advantages. I wish we had that on the standard Xbox controller, but unfortunately we don't. But again, it's about minor details, guys, and it just depends on what your personal preferences are. So in terms of charging then, you've got a micro SD charging cable on the Xbox, and you've got a USB-C charger on the Pro. In terms of battery life, the Pro wins it hands down. I have never charged it since I've owned it. I've owned it since launch. I've played the hell out of I was going to say Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, but this I'm finding I do have to charge it a hell of a lot more than the Pro controller. Does that matter to you? It definitely matters to me, and I think again, it's the differences are very, very subtle overall in terms of the kind of comparisons, but charging is a big thing. You know, you want to be able to get on the game and you don't want that to be ruined by your battery going. It happens to me quite a lot with the PlayStation 4. Simple fix, obviously you can kind of just plug it in, but ideally this is wireless. You don't want to be kind of glued to the closer to the Xbox or the TV because you have to charge it. So definitely for me, pips it to the post in terms of battery life with the Switch Pro controller. So guys, let's draw some final conclusions. Definitely in terms of ergonomics, the Xbox One controller 100% feels a hell of a lot nicer to hold for longer periods of time. However, the ergonomics of the actual buttons and the D-pad feel a lot more pronounced on the Switch controller, and for me that is a massive bonus in terms of the ergonomics of buttons. I think overall though, I think definitely the Xbox One controller pips it in terms of ergonomics and comfort. In terms of aesthetics, regardless of colour, I think the Xbox One controller has a lot of advantages over the Pro, but for me it's very, very difficult to decide which one actually wins because I really like the mild transparency you get on the main body of the Switch Pro controller with this, and I love the extra texture, you know, on the side panels here, all around, you know, kind of the main grips of where you're holding the controller. It is a shame. A huge thing that lets this down is the lack of headset support. I find for me it's an entirely different ball game when you've got a headset on in terms of immersion. Really can't believe that we don't have that feature, but my suspicion is Nintendo are going to bring out a controller that will have that feature. We know they like to kind of get money wherever they can, Nintendo, and I do think we'll see that. It's a rumour, I don't know if that's confirmed, but this does obviously have headset support. So for me, I think overall, I think this is a much better controller overall in terms of its features. Really like the beveling and ergonomics on the analog sticks compared to these. Buttons lack, whereas these are absolutely solid, and definitely the trigger buttons as well feel a lot more kind of like nicer to press. These have a bit more of a click to it. These are a lot softer and feel almost like, I don't know, a bit more professional almost. It seems very, very odd to fully explain it, but that is my opinion, guys. If you've used both of these, definitely smash your comments below. Love to hear from you. And also tweet me a picture of your Xbox One controllers as well. I really like to see what your Xbox One controllers look like. So that's my 2 cents between these two controllers. Very different consoles. Nice just to kind of, like I say, get my thoughts in there. Thank you for watching, guys. Please leave a like and make sure you hit subscribe to stay tuned to upcoming content. My name's Gemma. Have a beautiful day. Take care. See you soon.